Hello ratbags, it's Jade, welcome to Survival Focus. Every weekend taking an in-depth look at a brand new survival game with info, gameplay and interviews. Today it's the day before. Now I covered this a while ago. I was one of the first people to tell you about the history of the game makers Fnatic. If you've not seen this, it's pretty much a Division style game mixed in with a lot more scavenging and survival elements. Fully PvP, fully open world, you can do what you want as you explore, not just cities but wilderness too. It promises much and the hype around it is pretty huge. But as mentioned, I did go into the past and history of the developers and found out they'd not maybe had too much success, with a little bit of controversy on some of their earlier work. Since then, things have been snowballing. The developers have been getting interviews left, right and centre. They've even been tweeting about them interviews, so make it nice and easy for me to take a look and show you guys exactly everything we do know now about the day before. So make sure you stick around for info about next gen console releases, whether or not they're going to have a beta, how is the game playable, is it going to be online or offline, is there going to be base building, what is the story like, all that plus some actual new gameplay and future stuff. A few weeks ago they released some actual brand new gameplay footage exclusively with IGN. We're going to go over some of that a little bit. And they also showed off some what looked to be SnowRunners gameplay going on with a truck driving through the wilderness. It was only a few seconds of a clip, but it did get people very excited, and they promised that if they get 10,000 likes on their Instagram and Twitter, they'll release a full-length video. Now that was nearly 2 weeks ago, and they still haven't released that video, but it does look like it's gonna be happening. March 31st at 9 AM PST time, we're gonna get a chance to see what's going on with the day before on IGN. Slightly disappointed they've gone down the route of making it just through IGN and not putting it on their own YouTube channel. It makes it harder for other people to cover, guys, so maybe put your content on your channel as well. So all that, everything we know, I'm delivering it to you in a quick, nice video. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe for the best in survival games, news, info, guides and tutorials. My name is Jade, let's go. So after a brief little intro with the actual game creators, they are based somewhere in the deep coldest Russia, I do believe. This is what we actually got a chance to see. Takedowns. We got a chance to see what the bases might be like. It's not going to be a case of building up stone and wooden fortresses like Rust, more along the lines of Scum and DayZ, maybe adding fortifications to buildings that are already there. In fact, they likened it a little bit to Animal Crossing in the interview with IGN. They also revealed a bunch of new stuff in that interview as well, that you can do all sorts of different mechanics, not simply just go ahead and kill other players. If you get them on the floor, you may even decide to tie them up and interrogate them. There's all sorts of things going on. Or you can even organise friendly meetups at Colonies and then discuss plans. With the developers saying that in the future they want events to happen during the holidays, etc, so players can bond and get together a little bit more. So there's no denying the game looks gorgeous, and the sound design, the loudness of that gunshot was pretty big, so it is obviously going to be an important part. So the combat here though is the focus, and you can see a lot of the blood splatter on the cars. As always, the models here look fantastic, the lighting looks great. Whether or not it's going to be that way when we finally get to see something not humongously rehearsed, we're not sure. The shooting is pretty simplistic. It's not a DayZ simulation where you have to find out the trajectory of every single goddamn bullet. It does look like it's much more arcadey feel, and I think that was one of the things that I liked. Simple reticle going dark, i.e. red splatter when you're taking damage, and there's a fair amount of blood splatter in there as he takes on the guy. Now he's laying on the floor and you get to finish him off in a number of different ways, or as I said, you could tie him up and interrogate him. Now this was pretty interesting as well. Not sure if that was an NPC or a player driven tank, but either way it adds another layer to this game. Really atmospheric, they're definitely doing a great job with the marketing. It is absolutely hyping people up and getting them beyond excited about what this potential for this game has. So going deeper into the interview with IGN, the Woodbury Survivor Colony is a place where you'll actually meet NPCs, take up quests and pretty much get to know other players. It does look like, as I said, you'll be able to take over buildings that are already there, and here is where you'll be able to camp, sleep, cook and get yourself prepared before venturing out. They've stated that they're not going to have a huge amount of HUD indicators. They really want you to pay attention to the sight and sound of the actual gameplay itself. And they said that while the finishers aren't that new to gaming, they want to have their own twist on it. Different weapons will give different finishing moves, and you can even go ahead and heal the player before tying them up. For this example, they said they could down someone, tie them up, and then leave them to the attraction of a zombie horde. Now, that sounds just a bit graphic and OTT, but it might be necessity if you're trying to gain access to a building. What better way to get rid of the zombos in there by leading them to some dinner? They're also hoping to bring maybe an element of horror and really mix stuff up from maybe the day-to-day gunfight you might have against other players. Does look like the darkened hall at the end of this trailer is teasing maybe some sort of mini dungeon. It's all big words. Can they deliver? I hope so. So the Gaming Bolt has got another interview with them, and this was all pretty much posted on the same day. In it, they say that the focus is on the players deciding exactly the action that goes on. Don't expect to be separate PvE servers. Although there's a heavy element of doing roleplay and quests for NPCs, you are going to be at the mercy of other players at any time. A big part of the game is though restoring the colonies. They're going to have a reputation system within the colonies, and so hopefully there'll be enough incentives for you to carry on doing stuff for them. One clarification that I think is really important is there is no loot tier system, as in the traditional blue, yellow, red. This is definitely going to separate it a little bit more from games like The Division. The more traditional looter shooters, weapons are going to have their own benefits. It will act as they do in real life. A light bulletproof vest is only going to save you from a pistol. Boots won't give you protection from shots. They also spoke about jeeps going through the mud, which I'm going to show as I'm talking about it right now. If you get stuck, you can become easy prey. The car can either save your life or can become a trap. You need to keep an eye on the fuel, otherwise you'll stall at the most inconvenient moment. In order to fill up the fuel, you need to pick up a canister and really pour it into the tank of the car. The same way that the car is repaired, you have to go out and fix it. So this is not too dissimilar from the way DayZ works. This isn't the same just for ordinary cars, but also for armoured vehicles. So it does look like that was a player controlled tank at the end of the first clip. They go on to speak about the dangers of the enemies in the game, NPC forces as well as the zombies, and how dangerous the zombies are reacting to sound and relying on sight. If you carry too many things, the sound will be much louder and you've got more chance to be noticed. They elaborate a little bit more on the corridor that we saw at the end of that trailer. It's going to be a large laboratory complete of the mysterious Azure Initiative Corporation. Now, it does look like this is going to be a PvE dungeon, somewhere where you can group up with other players and take on an enemy and hopefully get some decent rewards. They do repeat quite a bit from stuff from IGN as well, talking about the holiday events and how a lot of that stuff they want to add on, but it does look like they're probably going to be focusing on the core gameplay first. But for sure, new locations, new weapons, skins, racing cars, that kind of stuff. They're promising that you'll be able to explore the whole world without any loading screens. There will be a big focus on the big city and its surroundings, but you will be able to go and explore farms, meadows, small settlements, forests and snow-capped mountains. They said that there's going to be more than just the main story, so they can't really put a time on how long it will take to complete. They are planning a pre-launch beta, but only for lucky people that maybe sign up, I guess. In fact, actually reading this, it seems like they're only going to be having the beta for staff that work on the game, or as part of their publishing team. It's great that a publisher has so many employees. Okay. Now, something for console fans, it does look like they have plans to bring it to the next series of consoles. Simply wait for a special announcement, which I can guarantee they're going to be saying. Whether or not they'll actually achieve that as soon as maybe a PC release, I'm not too sure. Bear in mind, this game is meant to be releasing this year. They had another chat with an Italian outlet. In it, they go into detail about the map, how none of it is procedurally generated, it's all handcrafted. Now again, there's not much new information here, except, of course, that the game will be playable as a solo experience. You will be able to play it offline. So if you want to get experience of a certain dungeon or part of a map on your own, then yeah, you can play this game just on your own, and that's pretty good. Although the main focus is online, they have said that they're going to be having it as an offline experience too. They also go on to say that because so much of the resources won't be going into base building, you'll spend more time making stuff that you actually need, like medkits and other items like weapons. Stealth is going to be a big part of the game, and there's going to be a wide variety of melee weapons too. Now, we saw that from the first trailer. Going into the actual skyscraper and moving around is going to obviously be a key component for the PvE story elements. Now, for survival fans worried that it was going to be just too much Division and not an actual snuff survival mechanics, the hunger, thirst and fatigue are all making an appearance. The indicators will drop as it goes hand in hand with stuff that you do. As they go lower, it looks like they're going to give you debuffs rather than maybe necessarily kill you outright. Also, this interview reveals that the developers kind of feel the day before should be its final version when it comes out, and then update it with content afterwards, but apparently they're still talking to the publisher whether or not it would be better to go into early access on Steam first. The interview from WCCF Tech has pretty much the focus on comparing it to The Division and what makes it different. The developers just pretty much say they're obviously inspired by other games like The Last of Us, like The Division, but they've got their own quality, their own standards, obviously their own ideas, not to try just make a copy. They reckon they've put 16,000 hours into the game, and they've got over 70 team members working on it, which is a pretty big amount. They've all been working pretty remotely, so it seems to be coming together just okay. Now there will be different servers. I told you guys earlier there might not be PvE servers, but of course there's going to be instances. We still don't know how many players will be in it, but they said they've got a very flexible server system. They're testing the best number of players for the best possible experience in the day before. There will be obviously a day and night system as well as weather. The wind will be beneficial as it will cover your sounds, but you shouldn't really get caught in a storm. Apparently the most equipped people will not survive on the street for more than 5 minutes. They didn't elaborate much on that, but I'm guessing maybe getting wet is going to weigh you down and make you more slow against zombies. They have a little bit more info about the zombies, how they're divided into more realistic varieties. It doesn't look like they're going for the typical run at you and claw your face off, rather than anything you might have seen from Resident Evil. I also say that there are no leveling systems in the game. It's all going to be just about what type of gear you can find or loot from other players. There will be a reputation system. Maybe this will probably give you access to better items, maybe, possibly. It says that they are working on some sort of clan system, but it's going to be very different from what they've seen before. They're doing their best to make it ray tracing and NVIDIA DLSS compatible. They do expand a little bit on whether or not there's going to be a store with microtransactions. They just simply say they've got loads of ideas for holiday events, concerts with stars in Survivors Camp. All very much seemingly maybe like a battle pass system, rather than necessarily just going in there and buying a billion skins. In fact, they say as for the store, we don't care about that. It's not the main thing for us. The main focus for our team is to create the greatest MMO survival game. And they finally get asked about cheating. They say they've got an anti-cheat system in place, but that's being finally decided by their technical officers. Now, from their Russian interview with VG Times, again, most of the stuff has been recycled in the other interviews. But a key few things: they don't plan on doing pre-orders or going to any kind of Kickstarter. They speak a lot about their publisher, Mytona, who is normally actually a maker of mobile games and pretty successful. They chose America because they believe it's got a unique atmosphere laid out by Hollywood, and that it translates a little bit better than maybe surviving post-apocalyptic frosty Yakutsk, which I guess is in snowy north of Russia. A few more pieces about survival: you can drink tea from your thermos to quench your thirst, and if you suddenly get hungry you can always fry your companion. So yeah, you can maybe be a cannibal. They're hopefully making the replenishment frequency comfortable as possible, but how you take damage, what terrain you're in is all going to affect that. It does say here if the hero is exhausted, he will receive periodic damage until he eats. They also say that they really aren't going to have millions of crafted items or crafting benches. It's all about realism and finding stuff. They've also said that a lot of the junk we've seen in some of the gameplay inventory, like watches and comics, can actually be used. Not just for sale, but you could actually read them inside the game. And they knuckle down on saying that they're hoping to get the game into players' hands before this year is finished. So I'm guessing by now, it looks like it might be a winter release. So all good stuff, absolutely. If they can live up to the hype, it will be a phenomenal hit. But I am still going to put a bit of caution out there. Their track record doesn't warrant this kind of hype, I have to say. Lack of a proper player tested beta is worrying. Maybe with the millions that hopefully have been invested in it from the mobile publishing arm, it really can be something they can make an actual reality. And I guess we'll find out even more details and more stuff, hopefully even a release date possibly on March 31st. I'll be here on March 31st with a look at that footage that got revealed and any other bits of information we need to know about. So until then, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.